we have wonderful wild women. They're a Lake District community. You guys are all going to know them already, I'm sure. Whose online presence, like Iona's, inspires and encourages everybody, but in particular women, to get outdoors and to be active. Can you please welcome to the stage Sarah, Faye, and Penny.
God. First of all, thanks to the festival team and Berghaus for inviting us back again this year. I'd hoped it would be a little bit less terrifying the second time around, but cue the nervous wee and the involuntary shaking. Okay. I'll press. There we go. Okay. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Sarah, and I am the founder and coordinator of the Wonderful Wild Women community, which is based here in Cumbria. I've spoken in the past about how and why the community came about, which was almost 4 years ago now. But so this evening I'm going to talk a bit more, focus more on what the community means now and how we're developing. So first off, the Wonderful Wild Women are at the core a community of people who enjoy the outdoors. Those who endeavour to bring a bit of adventure to their everyday, whether that's big or small, and want to share or connect with like-minded others. We really believe that the outdoors should be accessible to all in some way, no matter of your ability, your experience, your background. And it's something we really try to try and work towards on those moments that we come together. We've all got our own stories, our own journeys and strengths and experiences, which we believe should be celebrated. And through our social media, we really kind of strive to show a more diverse representation of what it is to be female in the outdoors. I often have people sort of say to me, oh, I'm not very wild. What I do isn't wild or wonderful enough to kind of come and get involved. And it's like they kind of appreciate the concept of our community, but they don't feel what they do is good enough to really associate themselves with this kind of movement of being a wonderful wild woman. But deep down, I believe that we're all a bit wild, we're all a bit wonderful, and sometimes through our journeys that can be squashed or suppressed, and for whatever reason, and kind of confidence can be lost. So the wonderful element really is about accepting and realising our self-worth. Women are often judged negatively for having confidence or putting themselves first. But I think it's really important for us to allow ourselves that time and care so we can kind of go on doing those day-to-day things that, those responsibilities that are often the reason why we neglect our own needs in the first place. The wild element is much more rooted in our kind of love of the outdoors, whether it's from a more kind of holistic or spiritual connection with nature, or if you see the outdoors as a kind of natural playground to push yourself in a chosen sport, and maybe you're somewhere in between. We all need that kind of time to be wild and disconnect from our real lives and discover ourselves and our abilities. So we think, all women possess elements of wonderfulness and wildness. They're just all different, and we want the community to be a place that sort of celebrates those differences, strengths, so they can be accepted, acknowledged, and not judged, either by ourselves or by each other, and given connection and space for growth. The journey of the community as a whole has been pretty overwhelming. It's grown pretty fast. And to see its kind of growth on the ground here in Cumbria and then also within social media, it's been really kind of humbling experience for me. One of the important aims was to establish a strong network here in the Lake District in Cumbria. So we're a grassroots community, and we feel like in an increasingly isolated society, personal connection and physical connection is really important. So for me personally, my biggest drive for being, sorry, God, that's a big face. My biggest drive for being active and getting outdoors is hands down the mental health benefits it brings me. Being outside can give me time for reflection, breathing space for busy lives. The endorphins from exercise help me to approach life from a much more positive perspective. I do a lot of running and swimming, all year round swimming, and I consider my time on the fells and water as my me time. I often describe sort of time out running on the fells with friends as like my therapy, and I'll often divulge way more than I would normally when I'm out there. It's where I process any difficult or challenging times which may be going on in life. And it's a place where I can spend quality time with my friends and family, unplugging from technological world for a few hours. I was recently asked, that's my dog. I was recently asked what difference the community has had in my life, and the simple answer really is I'm a much happier person. The kind of organisation of it and things like that does bring its own challenges, but ultimately I've been a part of the community has allowed me to meet and connect with people who I know are going to be lifelong friends. We've each opened up doors to new ventures and possibilities through meeting, and they've most definitely impacted my life in the positive way. So thank you, because many of you are out there. Hearing from others who've had similar experiences is what it's all about for me. Hearing people say with pride and laughter in their voice, I never thought I'd ever do this, is really quite special. And the activities that we do may not be classed as extreme to some, but to others they're a large leap out of their comfort zone. We have a whole spectrum of abilities and experiences who play out with us, and many have done things I could only dream of. But personally, I thrive off of that, and hearing about things they've done, it inspires me that one day that could be my reality. But equally, I get just as much inspiration and admiration from the story of the women who may be at the other end of the spectrum, for those who feel that the extreme is just not for them. And I think, for happier, healthier, and more positive mental well-being, it's those small, often micro, even opportunities that we kind of have to grab hold of. So I have here with me tonight two ladies that I've met through the community and who are now very good friends, and they regularly kind of come and get involved with what's going on. So we've got Penny and Faye, and they're going to share their own story of what the outdoors is to them. Thank you.
Hi, if you'd met me 3 years ago, I wouldn't have been talking about outdoor adventures at all. I liked maybe camping or a bit of a walk, but it wasn't a priority, really. And then when my mum was diagnosed with terminal cancer, I thought it might be best to do a little bit of jogging to kind of keep my energy up, because I knew my mental health was at risk. My mum had been a single parent, and I was an only child, and that's a really close relationship, and I needed to care for her and my girls and go to work and keep everything together. I think I did the first 3 weeks of the Couch to 5K about 5 times over, and that was as far as I got. But it was enough then. She died at the beginning of 2017, and then quite soon afterwards, my husband said he'd been having an affair for years. So there was one Saturday afternoon, out of nowhere, I was a single parent, and I really wanted my mum. And there's a period after trauma or loss when you're just in shock, and I really was. I was just full of adrenaline and anger and bloody-mindedness, and I just found for little short bursts at least kind of bubbles of strength that I never had before. And there was this almost compulsive need to not be the person I had been, to feel that I still had the capacity for reinvention. So a friend I hadn't spoken to in years said she fancied outdoor swimming, and despite the fact that my single part-time income was teeny, I was online buying a wetsuit and buying trail running shoes because someone said we could do a 10K. And I'm on week 5 by this point of Couch to 5K. I came across a phrase in a book by the author Sarah Wilson, which is positive neurotic behaviour, which... I'll take it. It's about the activities you find you have to do because your mental health isn't okay and they don't even seem like a choice. And online communities like this one, like Wonderful Wild Women, and the outdoor swimming community were absolutely perfect, because if I felt trapped, I could find a way to get outside, out of my head, and into the outdoors to escape. I think the first time I went swimming outdoors was in Lidle Water, and I got so far out into the lake, for me, and I looked around and I said, this is what it feels like to be alive. And that feeling of being alive, of being outside, of being in the middle of all that water, and unlike anyone I'd ever been before, kind of obliterated by that landscape, that became the thing I absolutely needed to do. I have 2 children, one with cerebral palsy, they're down there. And you can't, as a single parent, just change your life in a huge way. Even micro adventures are a challenge because you have responsibilities and there's no one there to help you with that. And in the early days, my children were doubly grieving and they needed me to stay close. But those restrictions can work to your advantage because you can do what you can and be proud of it. So for me, it's little sprints after work, it's getting out for a swim as often as I can, whilst knowing I don't have time to become a distance swimmer. It's fitting in time and guarding it and lining up things that might take more than an hour or two as treats to look forwards to. And during the early days, it might just have been a 20-minute canal walk with a friend. It's doing something and not being put off by the scale of other people's adventures. I still have lots of days when I feel like I might fall apart. I think a lot of us do. But I'll get into the middle of a lake and it's indescribable. It's different every time. Sometimes it's balmy and warm, and sometimes it's dark and freezing, and sometimes the waves slapping me in the face and I can barely move forward for them. And I might have driven there in tears, but I'm cleaning my head off, frozen, with a gobful of water, and I'm laughing. I've met some amazing people, and I've found that the community of outdoor swimmers and runners that I've met are far more accepting than the kids who were like lapping me really smugly in school PE lessons. I've managed to get one of my daughters into the lake as well on a couple of occasions. And as a middle-aged adult, I have the freedom to not be as fast or as streamlined or as good at it as I thought you had to be when I was younger. I'm just doing something, and I'm alive. It's brilliant.
Hiya, I'm Faye Whelan, and I'm terrified to be here. I've lived in Kendal all my life. So I've lived in Kendal all my life and just love the outdoors. When I was a child growing up, we had ponies, so I'd spend all my spare time down at the stables and just loved being outside. And then, as I went into adulthood, this changed slightly as I settled into a relationship, got married, bought a house, did all the things that society kind of expects you to do. However, after 11 years of being together, the marriage didn't work out as I had hoped, and in summer 2015 ended. This was obviously a very emotionally draining time for me, but in the same summer, I was doing a charity challenge at work to walk the Lake District 3 Peaks. I decided to stick with the challenge as it gave me the focus I needed. And when I was on top of the mountains, I felt a freedom and a sense of achievement that I'd never really felt before. After the challenge, I then left my job and went self-employed to do care work and set up a business in reflexology. This gave me a bit more freedom to continue with my adventures. I really liked solo hiking, and a solo hike that sticks in my mind was I wanted to do a sunrise hike. So I set off at 3 a.m. to hike up Helvellyn. It was only while I was walking up there that I remembered the last time I was doing the hike was just after my marriage breakdown. This then resulted in a panic attack, and all I wanted to do was run back to my car. However, I pulled myself together and made it to the top just as the sun came up over the horizon, and it was amazing. And I'm so glad that I didn't turn around. Then, after a rollercoaster couple of years, I decided to do another challenge, the Great North Swim. I chose this challenge as I had a bit of a fear of water. Turns out it was just swimming pools, as I fell in love with open water swimming. That's Helvellyn. So I fell in love with open water swimming. And when I'm in the cold water, all I can think about is focusing on my breathing and being in the present moment. This has really helped with my anxiety and depression, which I've battled with, as well as my panic attacks. After going through another bit of a low time with my mental health, on my 29th birthday, I was out with some friends and we decided to compile a bucket list of 30 things to do before I was 30. We wrote the bucket list on a napkin over cocktails. So some of the ideas were a bit crazy, like stand on a mountain naked. But I decided to stick to the list as it gave me the focus I needed at the time. And in February this year, I completed the list, apart from one thing, which was to finish a jigsaw. And anyone who knows me knows I'm no good at staying indoors. So the list really pushed me to get out, and I went trekking in Nepal, spent Christmas in a camper van in New Zealand, hiked more mountains, more wild swims, and met so many amazing people along the way, including my partner, who also has a love for the outdoors, and it's so nice to share adventures together. I've recently also taken up mountain biking, and me and my partner have been bike packing around Iceland and the Isle of Man, and it's an amazing way to see new places. Number 29 on my list was to rescue a dog. So Blee came into my life off the streets of Cyprus in February this year. She joins me on lots of adventures, and our favourite is paddleboarding together. I've also this year done some solo camping, which just gives me that headspace I need to switch off from technology and everything else and just clear my head. And I always think, why have I never done this before? And when I was doing my list, I'd tell people about the list, and people would ask me if I was ill. And my reply would be, no, I'm living. Through the hiking and wild swimming and just being outdoors, I've met so many amazing people, especially in the community of wonderful wild women. They each inspire and encourage, and I'm proud to be part of them. I thought I had my life planned out, but as it turns out, I'm happy it didn't work out that way, as I've experienced so much more than I ever thought I would by pushing myself to enjoy and live my life how I want to, full of adventures. Thank you.